Hey guys, Josh Yoder here, founder, Future Contributions Business Development. Thank you for joining us again this week. I'm excited for another time and 30 minutes here with you guys and to go over the Kickstarter program, guys. We're going over the Kickstarter where we learn Business 101 and we go further and deeper and dive into the fundamentals that makes businesses great. You know, we talked about last week that all businesses, successful businesses, are really good at one thing, and that's the fundamentals, the basic steps, the basic things. But they do the basic things so good over and over through practice, through coaching, through perfection, not being able to fail, but failing often, but failing forward. You know, you want to fail sooner than later in business. That's right. You want to find break points in business as fast as you can. You want to set something up and you want to see if you can break that thing. You want to be in control of the breaking, not after you build something and thinking it's strong enough and really build a structure on it to figure out if it breaks. Example, if we're building a building, and a lot of us are contractors and we have construction businesses, so this example relates. So if you're going to do a building, you are going to do a test, a stress test on these rebar, on these concrete pillars and different things before you really start building something on them, aren't you? That is the manufacturer's job that we're getting these materials from. So we hope that they're tested. How would you feel if these things came to you and they weren't tested? The PSI per square inch wasn't tested. And you put it down on the foundation and you build a house on it, and halfway through the whole thing just collapses. Well, that's how most businesses do. And that's why we have a failure rate of most businesses. 85% of all businesses fail within the first 2 years. And then typically, if anybody makes it past that, within 5 years, those businesses fail. So very small percentages, only 5% of typical businesses actually make it. Now, it's a little bit more than that if you count the very small sole proprietors, but I'm actually talking scaled businesses that are doing $1 million or more in revenue, because that is the first goal in business, is we want to get to $1 million in revenue. That is the first mile mark of most entrepreneurs in business. So when we get to these points, as we're building and scaling out, we got to 100,000, we got to 300, we got to 500, 700, we got to that million. Once you get past that 500,000 to 300,000, depending on your business structure, you now need help. You can't just answer all those phone calls anymore. You can't go do all the estimates anymore. You can't take care of all the problems by yourself anymore. You have to share the hat. And that's where it really starts getting complicated, because how do you duplicate yourself in an area that you're inexperienced in and never been in before, but you need filled? Can anybody relate with what I just said? You're a business owner and you can't be somewhere you haven't been, and you can't have wisdom in an area you can't see because you haven't seen it yet. But the way you do that is you hire a coach. You get somebody who has seen it, who has been there. And through that, you learn through success rather than learning through failure. You know, failure is a great teacher, but I'd rather success be mine. And we have, a plethora of business coaches here with Future Contributions. And we have Andrew Haddad, who's absolutely amazing. You have me. Hopefully you like me. We have many others that can assist you in business coaching. And not only that, just the Future Contributions program in itself, in its own right, through its own programming and just going through it, which we're going to continue to go through today through the Kickstarter program, is phenomenal. It'll teach you step by step how to see and how to have the wisdom before you even get there to learn from success rather than from failure. And we have tested our products. They have been tested per PSI per square inch. So when you put it into your foundations, you can build as big as you want on them. And the fundamentals are taken down to the third degree, to the minor 16ths of the inches. And it's all measured out. So that is made for massive scalability. So I want to start off today, guys, with saying it is Thanksgiving week. It is Thanksgiving week. You know, every morning we need to get up and be thankful. But I always say it this way, that you don't win in business first. You win at home first. You don't even win in business second. You have to live it. You have to win at home first. You win at life second. You win at business third. That is the order of success. And really talking about success is, I'm going to read to you some thoughts I put together this week, is that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Success is getting what you want. Fulfillment is living for what you're made for. There's a difference. You can be truly successful and miserable and not fulfilled. So success cannot be fulfillment, and fulfillment cannot be success. Fulfillment is you walking in your why, you finding your what, and you doing your how. And when you can do that, that's fulfillment. It just so happens to be that some entrepreneurs and some people have a lot more success in their fulfillment, but that success is not their fulfillment. Does that make sense? So what it takes to be happy is progress. That's it right there. It takes progress to be happy. Progress and growth, moving forward, is where we feel alive. So many entrepreneurs that were very successful at one time, the word retirement doesn't exist in the Chinese culture. It doesn't exist in many other cultures that work really hard and live the longest. Because when you retire, you quit. Retirement is really an American made-up term that you sit back on your life's work and you go sit on a beach somewhere. Hey, that's okay for a little while. You need to integrate some of that stuff. But to you older gentlemen out there and you titans of the past, we need your wisdom. We need you out there being coaches. We need you pouring back in, because that's what I want to do. That's what we need, right? So forget about retirement and let's talk about fulfillment. Let's talk about continuing to grow and never stop growing, because when we do that, we die ultimately. So the bigger you are, the more you can give. Life is not worth living for something that's not greater than yourself. Once you get past you, you start living life. And really, ultimately, a lot of us, me, most people out there, we're our biggest problem. We talked about that last week, right? In business. If your biggest problem in business is not your customer, it's not your employee, it's not your finances, because it doesn't take money to make money. It takes courage to make money. People have everything that you need. And if you have the courage to go and connect with them, you could get anything that you want. Because again, sales is not a conviction of persuasion, but it's an exchange of relationship. And if we can fundamentally understand that and get to the fundamentals of that, you can get whatever you want from somebody, but not to empty them, but to fill them. And you give something back to them as they give something to you. So the greatest level of fulfillment and success in life is a transaction of giving of one to another. Thus, Thanksgiving. Still got it. I brought it back around, okay? I didn't forget about Thanksgiving. So that's the point. We want to be giving as entrepreneurs. And that's really at the foundation here of Future Contributions of me and Andrew. That's why we exist, is future contribution. And the idea is we want to come from contributions. Yes, we're in business to make money, but my fulfillment isn't dollar symbols. My fulfillment is a changed life. That really fulfills me. I can look at my bank account. Sometimes it excites me, sometimes it doesn't, guys, okay? But what always does excite me and last longer than money and last a lifetime, because none of us are taking our wealth with us, so relationships. And building those new ones. Hey, I got a new relationship and it's going absolutely amazing with this new partner and this new business and this new friend. And they're doing really well. They took my advice and it's changed their life. Wow. Thank you for the ability to be able to give back. So that's really ultimately where it's at. And that's the ultimate happiness right there, is continuing growing, moving forward, not quitting, and making a lot of money along the way, but having that be a tool of navigation. A lot of us, are stuck, as small business owners. And anybody who says they don't have, sticking points in their business, I don't care if you're Elon Musk, if you're Tony Robinson, or who you are, nobody has arrived. Perfection is the enemy of excellence. So to think that you have arrived means that you're way far from arrival because you're in pride land. So coming to it and understanding that you may get thrown to the wolves from time to time. Guys, listen what I have to say right now. You might get thrown to the wolves, but always return leading the pack. Always return leading the pack. Do not let somebody else's decision upon you negatively determine your devourment by the wolves that want to do it. Sell them through relationship, your persuasion and your ability and your confidence of what you're able to do, and take the people that wanted to devour you, which is the business world, and turn it around. And our phrase is always here at Future Contributions: success does not compete, it dominates. Come dominating, return leading the pack. That's what we got to do, guys. We got to be wolf leaders. So we want to get in here a little bit to what we were talking about last week. And I'm going to share my screen here with you guys so you guys can see what's going on. So going over the Kickstarter program, and hopefully you guys can see this here. And we got an run, Tony. We're good. All right. Tony keeps me on track. So you guys can see here, this is what we're going to go through the next couple of weeks. So we've got the vision, mission, and values, which we did last week. The business plan, the branding pack is what we're going to get in here to this week. And then you can see down here, this is what we'll continue to do. A lot of you guys have this program already and have been going through this. And there's a lot of other video content within this that even goes deeper than what I'm going to explain and does it in a more professional way. But this is us really breaking it down. And a lot of stuff I'm going to say too that's not on this. It's a little bit more organic on these videos, a little more interactive. So as we go down here, we talked about mission, vision, and values. The why, the what, the how. And then we have the business plan. It went through all the fundamentals of the business plan. And you guys can get this at any time and follow along too at futurecontributions.com. And you can order the Kickstarter program and have immediate access. There's no wait time for this. And then we go down through here. We got a little quiz up and through there too for you guys. And then we have the branding pack. So talking about branding your business, marketing and branding are 100% bipolar of each other. They touch each other to some degree as far as complementary, but in another degree, they're like magnets push against each other. In a lot of businesses, they try to put them in one, and that's why a lot of businesses fail, because they're not building an identity. Because again, people do not buy what your product is. They buy what your product does for them. It's not what is, it's what does. It's not what is, it's what does. And that's what sells. So in branding, you're letting people know who you are and what makes you unique and what's your identity. Because ultimately, people are not buying your product, people are buying you. And they're buying what you're going to do for them, what your product is going to do for them. So in the branding pack, we go down through here, and I'm not going to take time to read all this, but all this is in the Kickstarter. You guys can read this once we're done. But define your brand and identity. A lot of businesses, they will take something that already exists and just change it 10%. Hey, that's fine. That's a good formula for some people. But I want to take what my calling is and get all the analytics, thank you, spell check people out there, Greg. We want to take all of this and we still want to be wise with it, but we have to know that this is our why. And we have to be able to stand through any storm and know what we're doing and how we're going to do it. So define your brand and identity. Start by clarifying your company's mission, vision, and values, and unique selling proposition. We got to find that first. So after we find that, we're going to identify your target audience, understanding their needs and preferences. You know, the old phrase of build it and they'll come, that's a bad business model. That doesn't work anymore. We're not gatherers in a forest and building huge teepees with fires and having people come over to us. That's not how it is anymore. We're on an online era, and we've been that way for a very long time. And there's so much competition out there. We have to separate ourselves in the marketplace. So in branding, ultimately, we want to let people know why we're in business, what our mission statement is, what's driving us, why are we in business. So example, there's two siding companies, okay, and two roofing companies for this example, or HVAC, or whatever business that you're in. Just think about you and your competition. A lot of times you offer the same warranties, the same products, the same material, the same customer service, right? Many times you do. So what really does make you different? It's in your mission of what you're going to do with your business. You know, for me, in my home service business, I named it after my kids. And I have a picture of me and my family on the back of everything I hand to my customers and my salespeople and everybody. They have it on the back there, and it describes our short story. And it says how it's named after my son. It's UBA, Oriel, Briella, and Angelina. So it has a unique story at the start, and people love that. And it's a big purpose of mine to build a legacy for my children, to hand something over to them of something that, you know, my ceiling will be their floor. And that's really stated in a brief sentence on the back of every folder of information we hand our customers. So right there, there's a lot of other home service companies, but in particular, that sets us apart, and ultimately people buy you, right? So if you're taking any average other company that's going to come to you with the same warranties and everything, and that's the only thing that's different, they will buy from you. So your brand identity, why are you in business? You need to know that. Logo and design, this is huge. This is so huge. I was just meeting with a company, it was several months ago, and they were designing their logo and their design. But what they were designing had really nothing, it did not display what they did. So it was a confusion. You see, you want your logo in your design to say what you do and how you're different. What you do and how you're different. Because if you're just like everybody else, you're not going to stand out, because ultimately money follows attention. So your logo doesn't necessarily have to be professional. It needs to stand out. It needs to be simple, by the way, not complicated. Do not try to go cursive on these logos. Do not try to go fancy lettering on these logos. Straight to the point. Maybe the color is a little exaggerated. Maybe the letters are a little bit too big. But our goal when a logo and designing it is to immediately let people know what we do, to help them remember us so that they don't have to remember a phone number, but they can see that, and they, on the side of your trucks, on the side of your vehicles, the billboard, they see it online, whatever it is, but you want to sear it into their brain where it's easy to remember. And then when they go search it, by the way, through search optimization, it comes up. That's really important too. We'll get into that. So creating a professional logo that embodies your brand's essence, considering colors, fonts, and imagery that align with your brand's personality. And then ensure the logo is and works well across different platforms and sizes. This is huge, and Tony could tell you all about this. You could have the logo, but make sure that it's formatted in a way that it can be posted anywhere and look the same on anything big or small. You guys ever see that? You go to a website and their logo is constantly different, and it's how would you say, corrugated? It doesn't look right, and it's stretched and everything else. People are very judgmental when it comes to business. If you don't look the part and doesn't look like you can stand behind your guarantee. And guys, this is another thing that can make you different in business right here. This is important. If you offer the same product, the same warranty, and the other guy too has a very good mission and you have a good mission, but then they go to your site and they see that your stuff isn't quite as crisp and put together as somebody else, even though you offer the same thing, it's the packaging. You know, coffee There's actually, I know I'm getting a lot of hate for this. Don't send me hate mail. I'll have Tony sort it out. But there's better coffee than Starbucks. They just packaged it better than anybody else. That's it. And it's amazing too, guys, that you want to make sure, and this is a little off topic, so follow me here. So it's the packaging that changes the value of something. But it's not just the packaging that changes the value of something, it's also the location of something. So when you're starting a business, make sure that it might be a great idea, but maybe not for this region or that state or here or even the right time. Make sure those things that those do align, that you actually have the right place to start the business. And you can buy a bottle of water. By the way, water's free. You can go out into the forest or a spring and get water. It's better than you buy at the store. But because of its location and its a plentiness of it, it's free. But soon as you put into a bottle and you go down to the convenience store or whatever, it's $1. But that same bottle of water that was free at the spring, but now $1 at the store, because there's more demand for it and less of it, becomes more valuable. And then you go into an airplane and you pay $12 for the same bottle of water that was free in the forest, $1 in the store, but now $12 in the plane. The bottle of water didn't change. The packaging changed from the forest, but not from the store to the plane. Its location changed. So looking for location can ultimately increase the value right away. Remember that. So we're going to skip past the coloring here and things like that. But the visual elements, we already talked a little bit about that, and the branding guidelines. Create a detailed brand style guide that outlines rules for logos usage, color combinations, and then spacing. All this is going to be very important. Include examples of a correct, incorrect usage to ensure consistency. And then legality. Make sure, guys, that you trademark your logos. Trademark your name and trademark your logo before you even open the doors of your business. It needs to be done, because once you open the doors, it's out in the public. And if it conflicts with anybody else's business, you're going to get sued, just like I did. Surprise, welcome to business. 3 months, it was great. Got sued in thousands upon thousands of dollars, rebranding thousands upon thousands of dollars, sleepless nights, lost momentum and energy, all because I didn't trademark and didn't do my homework. So don't do that. It's very not cost effective at all. So by doing that and getting it trademarked also protects you, even if somebody wasn't in business, coming into business. And we talked about, the testing, right? We talked about testing those pillars and things you're building your foundation with. This is a big one. You guys ever see in those old buildings, they have the keystone? When they build, I used to be a rock layer and a brick layer. We used to build doorways like classic homes with slate roofs and things. And these rocks are on the doorway. The only thing that was holding them is the interlocked weight. So it was like an U, the interlocked weight pressure on itself actually held them in place. There was no LVL. There was no brick molding, no I-beams, anything. It was all the weight of the rocks on top of each other. But if that one keystone that went in last, right at the top, that big stone that V'd in, if that wasn't there, everything would collapse. Trademarking your business is going to be a keystone part of everything else. Sometimes you could skip a stone, and it's not really effective until you get down the road. But this is huge. This is huge up front. Next, we're going to have website design. We could spend 3 weeks every day just on website design. But just for sake of time tonight, what we're going to talk about with website design is simplicity. I can't make this clear enough. Making this really, really simple is going to be so huge when it comes to website design. When you click on that page, people typically are going to scroll 3 times. I got that right, Tony? Yep, 3 times. People are going to scroll 3 times when they go to a website on average. If they can't find the information from those 3 scrolls, they will move on. Because you can see, and that's another thing, you need to have a very functional website. You can see how long somebody is hosting on your page, how long they're there, and how long they were there, and then they went off. And it's not very long. So you have approximately, it only takes me 1, 2, 3, maybe about 10, 15 seconds, 30 max for somebody to decide whether they want to call me, because ultimately that's what we want to do as in-home service businesses, is we want a phone call. They're not going to buy a house online. That's not how that's going to work. They're not going to buy putting a roof on online. We want people to call us. So understanding that too, that when we're doing this, that we want people to be calling us. So we need to market, and when we put on the phone and brand ourselves for that when we're building it, and also making it simple, not complicated, not weird lettering, nice spacing, space it out, and then video. Guys, use video on your website, and you want to be careful when you're putting it on your website that you don't mess with the load speed of that website, because that's another thing too. People aren't going to wait very long for your website to load. So if you slow your website down and the load time's slow, that's not good. And it could also mess with how the production of the video is too. Even though it was a great 4K video when you put it on, it's not anymore because it's all fuzzy because the load speed. There's ways to do that, and we'll get into how you can actually get video onto your website, but not slow it down. And Tony will teach us that at some point. So getting into where we were here on the website and moving on from that, we have the user-friendly navigation. We just covered that. Fast loading times, and then compelling imagery and visuals, and that comes down to the videos. We are in a society where Americans don't read. That's just really what it comes down to. They're not going to read your stuff. You're going to have to play a video in order for them to get interested, for them to read first. So a lot of video, short, I'm talking less than 50 seconds. You want to have it on there so people can see what you're talking about quickly. And then engaging content. And then clear call to actions. Don't leave anything to suggestion. You got to pretend that the customer's blind when they come to your website. When somebody comes to your website, they are blindfolded. They cannot see what you see. So pretend that somebody was blind and came into a room. How would you tell them, and how would you describe stuff if somebody couldn't see? Be a lot more detail, wouldn't it? Rather than it's right over there. Well, they can't see what right over there is, and they can't see where you pointed. Now you're describing things, and the steps become smaller, minute, and clear, by the way. And that's how website design needs to be. So looking at that, we are about out of time today already, but you guys have just a phenomenal Thanksgiving. We're going to pick it up here next week. And then I'm going to also be featuring from time to time, maybe once a month, maybe a little bit longer, and sometimes more than that. We're going to be having other successful business owners be coming on to this video podcast and just telling their story and their success principles, because we all can learn from each other. So I'm excited to bring some of these guys I have lined up for you. I'm not going to ruin the surprise, but they're absolutely phenomenal. So coming back here to ending this for you guys is I want to send you guys off with this, is people quit mentally before they quit physically. So let's make sure that mentally we are strong. And we were talking about this in our morning meeting in our home service business. If everyone is winning, everyone wins. I know that's simple, but if everyone's winning, everyone wins. And if you build culture, and we'll leave you with this, okay? If you build culture around structure, it will fall. But if you build structure around culture, you will succeed. Because proper structure can only come from culture. You can play that back, but study that. If you get that right, that is the cornerstone. That is the keystone. That is the foundation. And you can build anything on it. So bless you guys. Have an amazing Thanksgiving. Go to futurecontributions.com. Get the Kickstarter program. Between turkey eating and things like that, dive into a little bit. Catch up if you haven't seen some of our other podcasts. And get caught up and go through it, go through the end. I always say through all my courses, you need to go through them 5 times before you actually, it all sinks in to where you're starting to grasp and able to implement what we talk about. And then every day after those 5 times, train 15 minutes in the programs. You can break it up 5-minute segments in all 4 different programs. but those who have done that have had the most success. Have a blessed one. Have a Merry Thanksgiving. I almost said Merry Christmas. Merry Thanksgiving. And we'll see you guys next week.